What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a holiday Christmas horror film. And I always try to look for new horror movies around the holidays because there's really not a ton. There's a lot of like cheap, throw straight on a streaming service. But as far as like quality Christmas or holiday affiliated horror films, I feel like they're few and far between. And this is one of those movies that I feel like I've heard talked about in very positive light for a very long time, and for some reason I've just never gotten around to watching it. But Shudder had it available for streaming right now, so I felt like perfect time of year to sit down and finally watch it. And the movie I'm going to be discussing with you today is The Children. The Children is directed by Tom Shankland. A relaxing Christmas vacation turns into a terrifying fight for survival as the children begin to turn on their parents. So, I did not know anything about this movie other than the base level premise of kids attacking their children because they're infected with some virus, and that it takes place around Christmas time. And that was enough for me to jump in and want to watch the movie. And this movie was really a mixed bag for me. I can't really say that I liked it all that much. I respected a lot about it, and I think there are things about it to be praised and there's things about it to appreciate. But I think as far as a whole film and like working totally and cohesively as far as the editing, the cinematography, the performances, it falls short in a lot of ways, and I'll talk about it as I break the entire film down. So our lead character is a teenage girl, Casey, who is traveling with her family to visit other family for the holidays. They get to this house that's in the middle of nowhere, and we're introduced to all the different family members, and there's a bunch of little kids running around, and we hear them screaming and yelling at the beginning of the movie. And most of the conversations at the beginning of the film are really just mundane, day-to-day conversations that it feels like a real family interacting with one another for the holidays. Well, we see early on in the film a lot of the kids start getting sick. They start coughing and sneezing. They're complaining about being sick. The parents are just like, oh, maybe they're getting a cold, maybe it's just something like that. Very shortly after that, the kids start doing very weird, violent things to where eventually they start attacking the older family members. And the entire film is Casey and her family trying to fight for survival from these children. So, as I said, very mixed bag for me. I will start out with the positives of the film. I think the movie does a really great job of building up atmosphere and creating tension. The screams of the children in this when they're in distress or when they're angry, it's almost nauseating when you hear it. It's just the loudest, highest pitch screams that you can imagine. And I think the filmmakers pay really close attention to detail early on in the movie at really just creating these very strange sequences of like kids grabbing a knife or looking at something that could cause harm to someone, and doing a really nice job at kind of alluding what you're going to get yourself into for the runtime of the film. And that's something that I really appreciated a lot. I think the psychology of the film is fascinating because I don't have kids, I just have dogs, but I do think it would be really interesting as a person who has children to think about if your kid was infected by something to where they would try to attack and hurt you, would you be able to defend yourself, or would you still see a small child? Because that's the thing. These kids are all between the ages of probably like 6 to 8. They're very young kids, and you're seeing your child try to violently hurt you. It's going to really damage your psychology, and I love the concept of the film. And I think there are moments that the filmmakers do a really nice job kind of encapsulating that feeling and really bringing it across to you as a viewer of like, yeah, this would be really difficult and it would be really confusing and it would create a lot of internal turmoil. And I loved that element of the film. But that's about as far as I can go with the positives. When I start getting into the negatives, the first thing is the editing in this film is horrendous. It's very chaotic, which I think watching the film, you know, this is a relatively low budget movie. I feel like they thought the editing may attribute to the anxiety that the film is trying to bring to you as a viewer. But the problem is a lot of the cuts that the film takes and a lot of the rapid fire shot selection that the movie has makes no sense. It doesn't show us anything that is alluding to violence. It doesn't really add anything to the character development. It's just really quick cuts to try to keep you as a viewer on edge and make you feel unsettled. And there are moments where it really works, but there's also moments where it starts to feel very repetitive and very obnoxious. Secondly, is the performances. I was not that impressed with any of the performances in this. You could really feel the budgetary restraints in this movie. No one was really giving a super believable performance. Even like the child actors, when you're making a movie about children getting violent towards their parents, you want some really menacing, disturbing child actors that can really give you a great performance. And there were moments where the kids just kind of felt like they were standing there, where there was like really nothing menacing or scary about them at all. The dialogue delivery is very much reading off a piece of paper, which, I mean, they're children. There's, you every once in a while you get really great child actors. And the thing is, if you're going to make a movie where the entire weight of the film is that the children are supposed to be the scariest part, you got to really take time in casting to get some really great kids. And there are moments where it works, but for the most part, it pulled me out of it. I just felt like there wasn't enough there. The movie starts to get very repetitive after about the first 30 minutes, where every scene just feels like people screaming and yelling, "Where are the children? What's going on with the children?" And then people freaking out to when something violent happens, and then wash, rinse, and repeat. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. And you've got to add more for me. You got to do something with the characters. They try to give a little bit of depth to the teenager who is technically the lead of this movie, but there's not enough to really make you care all that much when she's in turmoil. All of the parents are incredibly obnoxious, so I didn't really feel for them when they were in danger. And so all of those elements really combine to make a very lackluster viewing experience. And it's almost like I respect the idea that the film was trying to convey a lot more than the actual execution of the film itself. And it was really kind of disappointing because I've heard a lot of really great things about this movie, but honestly, it just really didn't work for me. So have you seen The Children? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie had a really great idea, but very sloppy execution. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.